Plessisville, Montreal, about 25 years ago. It is a design competition, a national design competition that we won. This is my first major public project. I was 37 years old, and it's a place that is full artifact underneath. This is old Montreal, 400 years of history, and everything underneath needs to be preserved. There's a river that has been channelized to bring the sewers over time, which is a scale of about, you could walk in these things about 12 feet, runs under it. It has issues of weight. It has issue of, you cannot dig anything on that project because of the archaeology sensibility that was underneath. We have the Museum of Archaeology on one side and the Museum of History on the other. So we came up with this idea that we would do a blanket, a quilt that could be deposited on top of existing. We're just going to take the asphalt out, remove 20 centimeters, 30 centimeters of the existing granular stone underneath, and then we would cap the rest and with not too much weight. And the project making the connection east and west will be a sidewalk that would collect people instead of collecting the sewer that was underneath, instead of something that was a river that the water was flowing across the site. So that would be the kind of a main connector. The cross section became a kind of a slightly mounted, and we would have crisscross sidewalks that would connect each front door, possible front doors of the buildings on either south side or north side. And if they were residential home, they would be made of wood. If they were cultural institution, they would be made of limestone. And if they were short court in the city, would be made of concrete. So that's the notion of quilt. And the collector of pedestrian in the center would be made of stone, like the channel underneath for the sewage was made out of a granite stone. And everything else in between the spaces of the sidewalk could be trees and green open space, and with digging not too deep, but we had that created this idea for us of knowing about the material, about tree, soil volume, and having just grass, because maintenance is always an issue. Once you deliver a park, you don't know what they're going to do with it, unfortunately. But I think that design strategy of being flexible and open was the winning element of this. And because all based on the issue of archaeology and the sensibility of what's underneath. And on the west side of this is where that was the second phase, 25 years later, still not built, because this is where the Parliament of Canada was. And it was burned 150 years ago by the English Canada. And we have not been able to resolve the kind of a language of what that would be. It brought greenery, softness in old Montreal that didn't have any. So this contrast was a kind of a beginning in Montreal also of shifting concrete space, parking space into open space with a bit of softness and contrast. So they chose us unanimously, and it was great. And we did this with a bigger firm because then we were a two-person's office. But we drove the vision because it was very clear for all. And that's pretty amazing. When you have a clear vision for everybody, it's so much easier to manage from vision to construction document and change order into construction site.